Which word of the day? Today's word is trident, noun. The trident is a magical weapon that is featured in the Little Mermaid franchise. It serves as the personal weapon of King Triton. The trident is shown to have various applications depending on the will of the user. When its power is activated, it illuminates with a bright, shining glow and is heard making a deep humming sound, punctuated with high-pitched, melodious tunes. Since whoever wields it has command over the oceans, it affords tremendous power.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series. Oh my grams, spell worders. We are back for episode 38. Whoa! We only have 5 books left after this episode, so we are getting down to it. We're almost done with these books. I do have a few cool tidbits that I want to share before we start the episode this week. Jay, who was on our As Puck Would Have It episode, listened to the Sweet Talking Demon episode, and because he writes for fandom, when I challenged the fandom, or I pointed out that things weren't there or things didn't make sense, it actually caused him to go back and change the fandom page. So our podcast is inspiring internet resources. I think that's pretty cool. I love that. It makes me very happy that, our podcast is influencing the internet as we know it. Additionally, we have received another review. This is a 5-star review from Charmed Ryan. It says, "For true Charmed fans, if you're a true lover and fan of the original Charmed series, then you'll love this podcast. Kevin is a Charmed fanatic with tons of insight on the show. Love hearing his perspective and how excited you can hear him get when he talks about Charmed. Charmed, the original, is my all-time favorite show, and this podcast is right up my alley." Oh, thank you, Ryan. And please, if you have not left a review yet, it would really definitely help the podcast if you do. It helps people find us. And if you don't want to write a review, tell your friends. Tell everybody you know who you think would like this show about the show, because I love building a community. I love being a resource for the community. I love sharing these stories for people who might not know about them. And, bringing us all together is what fulfills my soul and makes my heart just explode with joy. And last, let's dive into this episode. I really had a hoot with this one. I had a lot of fun recording this. I think you guys will enjoy this one quite a bit. Lead us in, Patty Hallowell.
This is Finola Hughes, and you're listening to Words of the Witches, a Charmed podcast.
Words of the Witches, episode 38. Whoa,
yeah.
Crazy.
Yes.
Yes.
We're getting close to the end of these books, right?
Yeah, after this book, there's only 5 left.
Whoa. That's crazy.
So yes. Well, welcome. I'm very excited. This is Rachel.
Hi!
I have been waiting so long to talk to you because, I've had the pleasure of having you in my ear holes quite a bit.
Yeah. Listening to my great stories and my definitely always exciting adventures, I'm sure. And my opinions on cults, my opinions on romance novels, they're all important things.
Yes. And you are, besties with another friend of ours named Sean. Oh,
yes! We've been friends since high school, so we're besties of the besties. One of my soulmates. Definitely an awesome person to have in your life.
Yes. I'm so glad to be in the fold now. We got to meet when I was in LA.
Yeah.
That was lovely.
Yeah. We did a fun Christmas special recording. And then, was it a Comic-Con that we were at?
Yeah, LA Comic-Con, because I had my booth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Fun times. Oh my goodness. So you have, Once Upon a Cult and a Real Bodice Ripper.
Good delivery. That is how the name is officially said.
We talk about you on Hanging with the Hallowells a lot too. Do you want to just give a little bit about your podcast so people, if they're interested, can go check it out too?
Sure. So, A Real Bodice Ripper. If one of your reasons for being here, aside from the fact that it's the amazing Charmed world, is that you also like reading books, you probably might be interested in A Real Bodice Ripper because we read lots of romance novels and we enjoy them, but we also love calling out the really bad things and maybe things that don't make sense or things where we're like, doesn't work that way. Also, women's rights, yay, sort of thing. So that's a fun thing. And then also, Once Upon a Cult is where me and Sean and Alan get together and discuss the histories of different cults. And we also kind of analyze whether or not they're a cult, because people throw that word around a lot. So a lot of times you'll even find you're like, well, this isn't really so much a cult as a religion. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I love true crime, and I've been manipulated by people in my life. So it's interesting to read about the people that almost do it like professionally to get ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've always loved your energy and your, inclusivity and your sex positivity and all that stuff. It's just wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know much about your relationship with Charmed, so all I know is that I think Sean told me that you don't like Piper and Leo. That's all I know.
That's accurate, and I feel like that it's not like people that are very much more into the community. I know that Piper is a huge favorite, and for some reason, I don't have any like opinions that are now, but when I was young, when this was on the TV, like I was always watching Buffy and Charmed. Those were my main two go-tos. If I was out for an evening where they were on, I had a VHS tape that I had set up to record on time and be like, can't miss this episode. I have to record it on my VHS and watch it later. So I saw the entire series of Charmed, but that was all when it was first showing on the TV years and years ago. So I am rusty on my Charmed knowledge, but I do have opinions that were formed as a young teenager. So I'm sure they're great opinions.
I mean, that's cool. So you did see the series. You're actually ahead of Sean then, because he didn't finish it yet.
Yes. Like I said, don't have the best memory of everything that happened, but I always had fun watching that show because, I don't know, I feel like in high school for me, and even junior high, there were a lot of great things like Practical Magic and Charmed, and I was so into that witchy stuff. I had a book called like To Ride a Silver Broomstick by an author that's like introducing Wicca to teenagers, so I'm a fan.
Beautiful. I mean, that was the rage. I mean, with all those movies coming out and the shows, it was like a flux of like teen witches everywhere.
Yes. And I was one of them.
A part of it all. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess let's start this book.
Yes.
Fun.
It's so funny. I was listening to one of the other ones you did, and they had so many chapters in one of those, and I felt like this one had like larger chapters. Like it's the same length as the other ones, but where some of the other ones are like chapter 18, 19, we're like ending a lot sooner, it seemed like.
Yeah. Fun fact, this is actually the longest book of all the books.
Wow.
Yes, this is 241 pages. It's 1 page longer than the Demon Doppelganger's book, which you were supposed to do originally.
Yeah. But we had to zhuzh and move things and everything is good. But yeah, so we got the long one. But long one, but with very long chapters. Like
exactly. Because there's one in like the Halloween, I think Between Worlds, there are like 26 chapters, but they're all very tiny chapters. This was just like, oh, when is the next chapter? Is it going to end yet?
Still going.
All right. Well, this is called Light of the World.
It sounds very religious, like very Jesus-y. He is the light of the world kind of situation.
He is risen. Join us.
Totally a religion cult, I'm sure.
Yes, and they have like their praise songs, and I love it.
I used to be in the church choir. It was great.
Oh, see?
That was the only way to get me to engage in church, was be like, oh, I'm allowed to sing. Okay.
But this has season 8 promo pictures, so this is this.
Yeah, I'm like, how do you figure out where these are supposedly placed in the canon? Because this is clearly season 8 pictures, but then they said that Paige had red hair, which I know was an earlier season. And of course, Leo is still in a relationship with Piper. How do you place this? Where does it show up?
Yes. So, yeah, the thing with these books is sometimes they can be very difficult to place. A lot of times I just look to the fandom for them to tell me, or at least give me,
Someone else that's put the effort in to
yes,
figure it out.
or at least they give me a spot to look at, and then I can think to myself if I agree with that or not.
Mm-hmm.
The fandom places this in season 6 between Forget Me Not and the courtship of Wyatt's father, which those don't mean anything to you, I know, but but it's pretty much there's a 3rd episode of season 6 and episode 16 of season 6, so it's a pretty big gap.
Yeah,
but they say that Paige has strawberry blonde hair, which is false because they say red hair in this book. They don't say strawberry blonde.
Yeah, they say red. It's red hair,
which would put it in season 5. Yeah,
it just loves to be included.
Exactly. I would probably put it in season 5 myself if this was me. Yeah, this is season 6, but I in my head canon it's season 5. So there we go. Yeah, so it's got the 3 of them in the front. We have a nice lighthouse in the background. This very sunshiny orange glow,
illuminating the world. The light of the world.
Light of the world.
And it has a nice little tagline of, "This diamond isn't a girl's best friend." ...
Thank you for that. The
You're
beautiful
welcome.
delivery. Yeah. And then the back of the book says, "From sea to shining sea, I bade that she come back to me. Without her look, without her face, I bade I too would leave this place."
And then they give you the actual description.
Would you like to read it?
Sure.
Okay.
So, light of the world description. The charmed ones couldn't be happier. Phoebe and Piper's childhood friend Lissa is getting married and has asked them to be bridesmaids. They're thrilled to support her at her wedding and jump at the chance to get away to the seaside for a little while. I didn't feel like they really jumped. They had to be forced to go. This is my understanding. The ceremony will take place in Serenity Cove's beautiful old lighthouse, which is rumored to be haunted by the vengeful spirit of the lighthouse keeper who lost his true love at sea 100 years ago on the date of Lissa's wedding. Nothing could go wrong with that. The Hallowell sisters ignore the rumors until, that is, they notice the strange behavior of Lissa's fiancé. He seems to have become obsessed with Lissa's family heirloom, a strange and beautiful diamond called the Light of the World. Can the charmed ones disclose his true identity and intentions before their friend says, "I do" to Mr. Wrong? Dun dun dun!
Oh, yes. Oh.
Sounds juicy.
Sounds juicy. This is written by Scott Ciensin, who wrote the novel Luck Be a Lady before this. He will write one more before the end. And this was published August 1st, 2006, with a reprint December 1st, 2006.
So popular, it had to come out twice.
Okay, so I'll start chapter 1. Okay. Yes. I did warn you that we do have some little acting moments in this chapter because
yeah,
they're too fun not to act out. So we'll get to them.
Perfect. I'm excited.
All right. So chapter 1 starts. The charmed ones enter the manor to the phone ringing. They must have had a night of vanquishing, and they're like,
yes,
"We're tired. We're coming home."
But we did so good. We've defeated all the demons.
Yes. So the phone rings, and then they pick it up. It's a childhood friend of Piper and Phoebe's. Her name is Lissa, and she calls and invites them to her wedding, which is actually this weekend. She's like, "I sent you some notes like months ago, and you didn't respond, so I'm calling you."
So just calling to follow up, even though I haven't heard from you in months. You're coming, right? Well, my favorite is she hasn't connected with them at all, and yet she wants Phoebe to be her maid of honor.
I haven't seen you in 15 years. Be my maid of honor.
in a couple days. Well, and what was even more interesting is, so she knows Phoebe and Piper, but obviously Paige wasn't around during that time. But she's like, "All 3 of you are my bridesmaids, even this person I've never met before."
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
it makes total sense.
But they tell her they don't think they can make it because, we have so much demon vanquishing to do. There's no way we can make it. But Leo's like, "Hey, you can go. I can watch the place. I can be Mr. Mom."
I know the internet now. I just learned it, and I'm doing great. Thanks.
Exactly. He's all about like, yeah, I discovered the internet. I've been browsing and printing things out and doing message boards.
Paying all our bills online. We're on top of it now.
So yeah, Leo convinces them to go. 3 days later, the sisters are in a van. They rented a van and they're going to the wedding.
They didn't even rent a van. This was really interesting. So they went to the car dealership and were looking at the van, and the person's like, oh, just take it on a test drive for the whole weekend and then bring it back, and you'll probably... I have never heard of a place just saying, yeah, take this brand new car out for the weekend and put tons of miles on it so that maybe hopefully you'll buy it. What?
Exactly.
A lot of trust.
Exactly. And like, how like in trouble would you be if they decided not to buy it? Like they do, and like,
yeah, they're having to show off this brand new car and be like, it's super brand new. It has like 1,000 miles on it now, but it's super brand new.
So yeah, they test drive a van for the weekend and head to the northern coast, which, you know, a couple hours away already.
Yeah.
And then they take a pit stop while they're on the way, and they run into this underwater painter man.
Because that's a thing that happens and is real.
Yeah, he paints under the water.
I don't know how he manages to do get the colors on it and like when you're underwater, trying to dip in paints. I don't understand how this works.
I was very confused. Yeah. So that happened, and, and they ask him about their destination. Like, we're going to Serenity Cove. What can you tell us about it? He's like, you should never go there.
Simba.
Yes.
Never go there. It's a weird place.
That dark, shadowy place. Don't go there. The people are really weird.
Yeah. Unlike me, who is painting underwater, and I'm not weird.
Not at all.
No.
And he must have had some kind of accent too, because Phoebe was making fun of him. He's like, ooh, he's be creepy down there.
And it's not like he was just in normal diver attire. He was like in one of those old timey ones where it's like a big helmet, like brass. It's like, where do those work now? I would feel not safe deep under the ocean waters in an old timey 100-year-old piece of equipment. I wouldn't feel good.
No, I would feel too claustrophobic in that thing. Yeah. Mm. They arrive at the Serenity Cove. Mm-hmm. And that's when Phoebe makes fun of the painter and puts on the weird voice and starts talking. And Piper's like, shush!
Piper doesn't like fun. You can't have fun with Piper.
No. So suddenly, an angry woman burst out of the theater doors, followed by a man. They fought. This is our first acting scene moment.
Acting scene. All right.
So you could be the ingenue. I figured you'd be a great ingenue, and I will be...
Indeed.
This other man that's talking to you. So it's page 15.
And are we starting this at the you really think?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. You really think Bathilda May Lynn needs help from a loathsome Lothario like you?
Cried the woman, her eyes blinking with overdone disbelief.
I'm destined for Broadway and then Hollywood. I'm going to be a star, a really big star.
Bethy, honey, sweetheart, I really was just offering to run lines with you.
Her companion wheezed, his well-lined face growing chalky.
Listen, I'm a happily married man. I own a paint store, for heaven's sake. You really think I'd risk giving all that up for a fling with a girl half my age?
She stopped, her face frozen in rage. He backed away as she turned to face him, his shoulders raised in sudden alarm.
Bethy, I mean...
Are you saying...
She asked, each word punctuated by a huff.
That I'm not good enough for you? That's a huff, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that works. Yeah. I was like, oh, Bethy, no, sweetheart, no, it's just...
Then you were hitting on me.
What? No, I never said that.
Are you saying that my beauty and radiance and raw talent aren't enough to make any man want me?
Huh? No.
Case closed. You're a cad, and we're finished. Find yourself another ingenue. I'm packing my bags tonight.
So, I don't know. These characters that don't really mean anything in the long run, but this whole interaction was amazing.
Yeah, it did, why they, plugged into that and we're like, oh, this is something we should watch. I'm like, maybe this will be significant later. I don't feel like it really was.
Not at all. Not at all.
It was fun to read and act.
Yes. Just very fun times. So then, we're going to have another acting scene right away. The sisters, so this boy comes up to them then, and he's like, I have to go deliver this note to, like, the barber shop, but I can't pass old Mavis's house. She's this old lady. I can't pass her house because she, like, hates children. she's gonna, like, squirt me with water or hit me with a broom or whatever. And, like...
You know, those old ladies just beating people with brooms in their front yards.
So they end up doing the favor for the boy, but then they meet old Mavis, and this is what happens when they meet old Mavis. I'm gonna play her. I'm gonna play the old lady this time.
Okay. Perfect. Are we starting from the children part?
Yes, exactly.
All right.
All right. Children!
Old Mavis yelled.
I smells them on you.
Okay, this is just creepy, Phoebe said, turning away quickly. And she runs a bakery? Oven big enough to pop little kids into? Shut it, Piper warned. Old Mavis? The woman nodded. Oh my goodness. Right, well, Piper said pleasantly. You see, this little boy told us he couldn't come within spitting distance of your place, or else you'd be out chasing him with your broom? Kids, huh? They say the funniest things.
Yes, that's true,
Old Mavis said seriously. Piper frowned. The part about kids saying the funniest things, or the part about you chasing them with your broom? The broom shot up into the woman's hands.
Both, I would think.
Paige surged forward. You know, there are other things you can do with your broom. The woman stared at Paige as if she had two heads.
But I'm old Mavis.
How nice for you.
And this is my broom.
Right, but... Paige shook her head. Why do you use your broom for that?
What else would I use it for?
Old Mavis said, whirling and sweeping back into her bakery, the rich scent of cinnamon wafting out as the door swung open.
You city folk have strange ideas.
Oh, Old Mavis. Another completely necessary character to have spent some time with.
Right. So I think these were put in there just to showcase the absurdity of the people that live in it.
Yeah. What makes this place weird?
Yeah. But definitely enjoyable characters for sure. Okay, so past these people, they go to a toy store, and Phoebe and Paige overhear a woman. She's like telling the children it's story time. She's like an author. She's like, let me tell you the story of the Lighthouse Mystery, children. Yes.
And my first thought as you're listening to her tell the story, it's like, why are you telling this to children that are Wyatt's age? This is not the appropriate story for this audience.
No, it's like horror and murder and whatever. But yeah, so she tells the story of the lighthouse keeper. He's in his lighthouse and he's at like the lamp and he's watching as his lover Trudy was returning home to him on a ship.
Yes.
And there's a storm ravaging.
Oh no!
Gas.
Suddenly,
Yes. Oh gosh!
Oh.
I better make sure this light gets to her. She's coming for me. Yes.
Then
The light was snuffed out.
no, Trudy,
No.
oh, my love.
Yeah, so he was panicking. He's like, I gotta get this light back on. He finds out later that Trudy's ship was ripped apart on the rocks, and her body.
Died.
She did.
Pinned beneath the sea in a piece of debris, but they recovered her body, luckily.
Yes.
And then I guess what I found also interesting is he blamed his light going out on a lawyer.
Yeah! He's like, this lawyer, he's my rival. He hates me. He's trying to ruin my reputation. He probably rigged my lighthouse to fail. I don't know, but he's dead to me.
Totally dead to me. But then he really is dead.
Yes. Like a few days later, the lawyer was killed in his den, crushed, shredded, and drowned. Curious.
Which is a little bit of overkill. Doesn't need to be
a little bit.
all three of those. just one would be fine.
I don't know. Which one got you first? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. And wasn't everything like soaking wet and covered in, so it's like in the den of his house, found this way, but it's also just ravaged with water. So
Yeah.
it's mystical. This isn't water coming in through windows. Where did this water come from? We don't know. Mystery.
Yes. So then the keeper like kind of felt robbed by the world. He's like, my lover is dead and I am not happy any longer. So I'm going to vow that the world be like tormented. I'm going to deny happiness to the rest of the world because it denied myself happiness, you know, like.
Yes. I mean, the only way you can feel better is if you just ruin everyone's lives around you. So
Exactly.
makes sense. Yeah.
So he vowed this and then disappeared forever. Like nobody knew where he went, but he's like, one day, sooner or later.
Maybe on the 100th anniversary, maybe.
Perhaps. So now Lissa appeared. This is the friend. She like greets the sister. She's like, there you are. I'm blonde. I'm super toned. I've been working out.
Dancer. I'm a dancer with rich parents.
Yes, I give really good hugs.
Oh, they're so good.
She's like, let me hug you.
Let me hug you. You, Paige, I don't know you, but I give great hugs. More hugs for you too.
Although I can relate to that. I'm a hugger, and people say I give really strong hugs, so I'm like, I feel you. There's a certain empowering factor in that.
Yeah.
Lissa tells them about her fiance, James.
Oh, James.
Yes. But Paige is like, but I heard about a ghost story. What about the ghost? Tell me about the ghost. She's like, we're not talking about that.
Look at this picture of James. Look at him. Let's swoon over.
Isn't he so hot?
That's all you need is hotness, and you're set for life.
Yeah. So that was chapter 1.
Long chapter. Going on to chapter 2. So Lissa begins giving the sisters a tour of a mansion that the parents had rented for the wedding. And this is another thing I'm like, with the same with them being given a car to go on a test drive with. They are staying in this mansion, which makes sense. But then they had full access. There was like a complete wardrobe of clothes, vintage clothes for them to wear. And they're just wear whatever you want from the mansion room. And the way they described that the 3 sisters had their own rooms, but all these 3 suites like centered on one big walk-in closet. I'm like, what kind of old-timey house did that? That doesn't make sense.
This is very modern, like, yeah.
Yeah. For when you need 3 people to share one single walk-in closet, it happens very often in house design now. But anyways, they go to the mansion and they learn that James is an orphan who eventually, it was so interesting. It talked about how like he dropped out of school, but then he got a master's later. And I'm like, how did you get a master's if you didn't finish high school? How did you even get into that? Okay.
Questionable. Very strange.
Questionable. And now he is a college professor, very into history. And so not only is he swoon-worthy, but he's smart. And outside, Piper had to freeze violent waters from hitting Lissa because that was when they were at the fountain, right?
Yeah, right.
They're all perched at a fountain and suddenly it just gushes out and tries to go after Lissa. And they're like, oh my goodness. And then some super dudes come by and they come by and they're like, hey, how about that ghost? You're getting married? Oh, good luck with that. More useful characters that made sense to bring in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they stroll through the town and they go on a shopping spree. Apparently, Lissa is just such a wonderful person that she wants to buy unique gifts for every person attending her wedding. Not just favors, unique special gifts for everyone. Mm-hmm. Lucky she's rich. And then they go to get their fittings done. And they're at this place where it seems they do both the hair and makeup, and they also have all the dresses.
Yeah.
And
she's like her own little boutique of like dresses and perfumes and crazy.
Yes.
I do it all.
Love it. Yes. And they like the perfume smells really bad on one of them, and that must be a weird prank. And then suddenly Lissa is being attacked by a hose. I like that you describe it here as Lissa gets in a fight with a hose. And she's so wet. How can you get ready for a wedding if you're wet? That's challenging.
I'm all wet. Can I come in?
Yeah. Help me. And then Flavia, The shop owner arrives in great displeasure and rants to her employees, being like, how could this happen? What is wrong here? We have to fix it. And the sisters meander and contemplate the possibility of the wild hose maybe being supernatural, because it's not every day a hose attacks a person.
Yeah.
So they're like, maybe it's supernatural, or maybe we just think it's supernatural because we're witches and that's like what we want to see. There could be a total normal happening with the hose, I guess. And the Flavia, the dressmaker extraordinaire, has a little moment with Phoebe, and she's like, oh, I used to have a boutique in Hollywood and I catered to the stars, but that wasn't the life I wanted to live. I lost joy in that work. So now I'm here and I have to put on a little bit of a show because my clients really like that kind of genius eccentricity. And so that's what I do. I'm not really like that. I'm just pretending to be like that.
I kind of pictured her like the girl from Death Becomes Her with the potions. What's her
Oh,
name?
yes. Oh, the beautiful one where she pricks the finger.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name, but
I feel bad, but yeah, it reminds me of her.
She's
I just pictured
fabulous.
her like that. Yeah.
yes, that seems like a good Flavia imagining. And she's very passionate that we need to protect Lissa. Lissa is a wonderful ray of sunshine. We must protect her at all costs. And they're like, okay, we can do that.
Yes.
Then, as if this wasn't enough, then like sprinklers start raining down scalding hot soda and tea.
And this is part of her shop too. She has a cafe too.
Yes, what? This shop is crazy in this teeny tiny ocean town. Why?
Who in that town can afford a place like this? Anything, you know?
Yeah, well, like how many events are there actually happening where they need this formal wear and I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, hot soda and tea streaming out from the sprinklers. The coolers are just flinging ice cubes at customers. And the sisters can kind of see some humanoid water vapors, which are juggling ice. So they're like, what is this? But luckily they have a couple of spells like left over. So they try to do their best to contain, not quite vanquish, but contain.
Yes.
And so Paige recited a spell and trapped one in an electrical surge near the counter. And then Phoebe had a second spell that sucked the rest up into the drains. And these spells were super high quality.
Oh yeah, we'll read them at the end.
We'll read them later. They're great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it took much effort. Afterwards, Piper like kind of made fun of them. And they're like, well, lucky you didn't have to use yours because ours did the job. Whatever.
Yeah, yours would have sucked.
Yeah. So Flavia and Lissa and the sisters hear laughter coming from Flavia's studio. Oh no, that's where the dresses are. And so they fling the doors open. No one is there, but there's paint and dye everywhere. They go and they find their dresses and they've just been ruined, like neon colors and polka dots. And how can they wear this for the wedding? Lissa is quite shaken, but she's still trying to be really positive about it. She's just so happy to marry the man that she loves, even if it's in purple and green dots. How
sweet. I know.
Yeah. And then the sisters have the realization that James is actually alone at the lighthouse. And if this does have to do with the haunting, the lighthouse is very central to that story. So they're like, oh no, what if he's in danger there if this ghost story is true? So they head there to find James.
Yes. So chapter 3, we cut to James at the lighthouse. So he's there. And he's like, I'm walking up the lighthouse steps. I'm wearing, really creepy, he's wearing the scarf of the old lighthouse keeper around his neck. Like,
yeah. This helped him write his book. It brought him into close communion with the spirit to just have this really lovely 100-year-old scarf around his neck.
Yeah, creepy. It's so creepy. But yeah, so James has been like researching the whole lighthouse mysteries, and he wants to get to the real world like story. And so he's been studying this for years and years and years. And he records his findings, including his voice log. So he's like his little voice recorder as he's walking up the steps.
It's very Buzz Lightyear of him.
It is, yes.
Star logs or whatever.
Star log landed on Mars. No. Yeah. So he's recording. He's like, yeah, I've been researching these things, and I find my results are inconclusive right now. So Yeah.
And he's about to give up. He really sounds
Exactly.
like he's like, well, I've tried. I've been here a long time. But now all I need to do is marry the woman of my dreams. Mm-hmm. So I'm just
Yes.
going to lay this to rest.
I'm moving on with my life.
But the
But-
ghost has other plans.
Yes, the ghost has other plans. So James finds a pocket watch on the floor, and he voice logs that he has a feeling it belongs to the former lightkeeper.
He feels it in his heart.
I feel it in my soul, my bones. Blah. So he records it, and then he's like, I shouldn't say that. Never mind. I should go back and delete it. So he plays the recording back, but there's another voice on it.
He caught an EVP in the lighthouse.
EVP in the lighthouse. This is like ghost hunters galore. That's the best thing of the day.
Yes.
The voice says, "The light must never die." Ooh.
Ooh.
So then James looks over his shoulder, and there's like a hidden panel on the wall, and it opens up by itself. And he's like, "Let me go in there. Why? This isn't weird at all. Let me just check it out."
A great idea. I should definitely go into this secret place that no one knew about. Yeah.
He finds the keeper's journal. So yes, a journal. My research is picking up. I got more clues. So
Just when he thought it was all over.
Exactly.
A new world.
So he's reading the diary, he's reading the journal, and he learns that the keeper held a belief in the magical properties of the flowers in his garden. He's like, I can do this magic with this and this magic with this. And so but then James, because he still had the pocket watch, James' hands suddenly like grip the pocket watch. He's like seized up on the pocket watch.
I have no control.
Oh God, scary. He could not move his hand. He could not let go of it. And the ticking like grew louder in his ears, and the ticking was like causing him pain.
Grating.
Oh.
Not this ticking pocket watch that he can't put down.
Crazy. And then he heard footsteps behind him. It gets creepier. And then a voice behind him. It spoke to him. He's like, I don't know what it said, but he was like talking to him, like saying really cryptic things.
And he's like, that's the same voice that I just heard on the recording.
Oh! Then it got really descriptive. Like invisible hands, like kind of separated James's soul from his body. They're like grabbing at him and like pulling his soul outside of him.
And then his body was still working.
Yeah,
he wasn't in it.
Oh, it's so creepy. And then so James's body was like kind of floating up. He was being taken away. He could see someone else like taking control, and the guy, his body like looked up at him and just smiled menacingly. Oh, the chills, the scene.
And this is the keeper. The keeper has possessed James, and this is how he's going to bring upon his vengeance on the world so no one can be happy ever.
Well, that's that. Now the sisters arrive at the lighthouse. They're like, we're gonna save James, you guys.
Gotta find him.
But James comes down. He meets them outside and he greets them. He's like, "Let me give you the tour of the lighthouse. Everything seems pretty normal." They all think James is a super hot stud. But Phoebe does have a little bit of suspicion. She's like, he seems too good to be true. I wonder if something could be off about him. I think she might be jaded about her relationship with Cole because they mention Cole constantly through this book. I'm surprised how much they mention Cole. But
they do mention him a lot. And they're like, well, James is tall, dark, and handsome too. So they look alike. And so she just instantly doesn't trust him, has a like, feeling about him. And it is interesting because James, aside from him not really having family, like he was orphaned, that's one thing. But then he also had no friends, I guess. Like she says, he has friends all over the world, but it's like he doesn't have any close community friends. Like his man of honor isn't even coming in until like the day of the wedding and then is leaving right away. I know. I think
very
this guy
strange.
He needs to build some community, that James.
Yeah, you're too focused on your work.
Yes.
Yeah. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah. So, our next chapter is chapter 4, where Paige orbs to the manor to find Leo being Mr. Mom. He's cleaning. He's being the perfect little house husband. And she lets him know, okay, this is what's going on there. We need to go to the Book of Shadows and figure this out. And as they're heading to it, Leo's like, you know what? This might be Nixies. Nixies are kind of mischievous spirits to do with water. So it might be that. And so they go and they kind of look at the Book of Shadows and do that thing. And he seems pretty spot on with these Nixies. Then Phoebe meets up with the storyteller and author Jenna, who we had met earlier in the bookstore. Or we'd seen. They didn't really introduce themselves then. But Jenna tells Phoebe that there have been strange occurrences here. She's seen ruins of churches that worshipped sea deities and thinks she's even seen merfolk while skinny dipping.
That's an important note. She's like, I skinny dip. I'm hip. I'm cool.
I'm super hip. Well, and then Phoebe was like weirdly judgmental about that.
I
I'm
know.
like, oh, come on, Phoebe. Skinny dipping is fun.
Especially for you, of all people, Phoebe.
Yeah, she's like the fun one.
She's the lusty one, the sex positive one. Like,
Yeah.
she's just like, I don't want to hear about your skinny dipping. Let's cut past that. Tell me about the. Yeah.
Yeah. So she had no time for that, but she did have time to learn more about the ghost. And so she wonders why everyone is obsessed with this specific Lightkeeper ghost story. And Jenna tells her that because at its core, this is the story about a man who's motivated by love. Above all things, love. And so it just touches us all deep in our heart. And, you know, that love is paired with brutal murder, but okay.
Right.
Still a story worth telling. So Piper walked down the street with the feeling that she was being followed. She kept hearing these footsteps behind her. And at first she wasn't trying to look back at all. She was putting herself in situations where she could catch a glance, but not look back seriously and tip off whoever's following her. But there's nothing. She can't figure out what these steps are. So then, of course, there is that theater that she ducks into to hide. And she ends up in like a changing room already. But then they're interrupted by more fighting by the ingenue, who apparently did not pack her bags and leave. And so she's like, oh, they must have scared them away. Nothing came in after me. So then she heads back out to the street, and then right as she's in front of the bakery of Old Mavis, two boys pull a rope, and they carry her with ice water. No.
Oh, these children.
these naughty children. There's nothing to do in this town. They can't help it. They have to keep themselves entertained in some way. And so Old Mavis watches this all, and she's like, do you want my broom?
I just love that.
I got a broom for you. So later at the mansion, Lissa, the sisters, and her parents are having a wonderful evening in the ballroom. And James arrives. And in a big kind of production, Lissa's father gifts her the light of the world, a beautiful yellow diamond necklace that radiates light, and when it hits it just right, and it's huge. It reminds me of the heart of the ocean.
I was gonna say, it's very Titanic of him.
I know, but it's the thing that everyone wants. They want that big diamond, and it is now Lissa's. He has gifted it to her, and James is just completely taken in by this necklace. He is staring at it. He is ogling it, and Phoebe's like, "Hey, shouldn't you be looking at your future wife that way? Why are you? Stop just looking at that necklace. Don't you care about her?" I'm like,
greedy.
I would probably be entranced by a necklace like that. I wouldn't be standing there forever looking at it, but it's his first time seeing it.
Yeah,
I think we can give him a little slack.
Sure.
I mean,
it's probably right on her bosom. That's probably part of it.
I know, like, especially, if it falls just right, like, definitely worth checking that out. So, meanwhile, Jenna, the writer of the book, is at her cabin hauling boxes around with her past research because Phoebe asked if she could look at it, so she gathered that all together. And right as she's getting ready, she feels drops falling from the ceiling, wetness, water coming down, and she looks up and the droplets form the words, "It must be the ghost."
Yes!
And then she went to run, but a gust of wind knocked her back, and the figure of a man roared out of the fireplace. It was the keeper. Jenna recognized him, and he rushed at her.
Oh, and it was so creepy because he said something. He says, like, "You've been talking out of turn, my dear. said the keeper's shadowy form. "Whatever happened to your journalistic integrity? You never even tried to reach me for an interview." Ugh.
Ugh. How dare you tell my story without getting information about it from me? The ghost.
Yeah. So, chapter 5, another long chapter coming up.
Yep.
Lissa, the sisters, and the others, like her wedding friends, her little girl group, they go to a Western-style pub.
Yeah.
This is like the bachelorette party time.
It is. And while they're having this bachelorette party, James is just hanging out the lighthouse alone. That's his bachelor party.
Yeah.
Oh, James.
Oh, James. Phoebe notices Lissa's drink spinning in the glass like a whirlpool.
Ooh.
like that's not normal. Like, we need to distract her. So they say, so look over there, and then Paige orbs the glass away.
Yeah, like right in front of her, but she's looking away. So
yeah,
they explain it away.
Yeah, then she's like, "Wait, where'd my drink go? Did the waitress take my drink? Did you see her?
Did that jerk take my drink?"
So Lissa mentions how James was never on time, but lately he's always about a minute early. How
never
thoughtful!
Late. Oh my goodness! Maybe he's changing. Maybe he's more reliable now.
I'm training him so well. He's going to be a great husband.
Now I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Bye! It's weird that she decided to go to the bathroom when she knew he was arriving soon, but sure.
Yeah, especially she's like always on time, so he should be here in about 2 minutes. I'm going to go to the bathroom now.
Yeah. Great. So she's in the bathroom. James does come by, and he's like, "Where is that woman? I told her I would be coming."
Why isn't she waiting for me?
Yeah. She's like, "Well, she's not here. I'm going. I'm leaving."
It's like she's in the bathroom. She'll be out any second. But he's now on a schedule. He has this pocket watch. He's super fascinated by it. And he has to stay on time, on schedule.
Yeah. And Phoebe notices that he's like, "He sure loves that pocket watch." So now they're in the parking lot of the pub, and the charmed ones meet the hired stripper for the bachelorette party. His name is Simon, and he is actually half incubus.
Oh, so, I mean, perfect job for a stripper. Like, he feeds off of that sexual energy. So, I mean, it's interesting the way that Phoebe's like, "I'm going to bring in an incubus for this party."
And it's weird because it's like, we go way back. I'm like, really? Do you now?
Do we? Have we ever heard of this guy?
It's like, yeah, interesting. Some secret incubus friend.
Yes. He is now a reformed incubus. Like, he has his cravings under control. He has a girlfriend. He's being really successful.
Yeah. But apparently, Phoebe's met him, and he has the power to turn people's desires into literal flame that he can absorb to get stronger. But it's like, I don't do that anymore.
I don't know. I broke that addiction.
Simon owes Phoebe a favor, and that's part of why he's here. And he's agreed to help her deal with the Nixies.
Yay!
Yeah. Phoebe puts this enchantment on Simon that's like this ice talisman thing, and he stuck to his chest. So this will prevent the passions from absorbing into him and taking him over and overheating him and stuff.
Yes.
So he's like, okay. So that's done. Simon comes to the party. He's like, "Here's my boombox, ladies. Here I go.
Bam.
Boom chicka wow wow, dancey dance dance."
Dancing so fast and hard, sweat is flying everywhere.
Yes, ooh, and his sweat was moisture droplets, and it attracted the Nixies because this was part of their plan. He's like, we're gonna lure the Nixies in here. But the Nixies were onto his plan. They were smart. They're like, "Well, I got you." So they melted the ice house. I don't know how they did this, but they're like, I guess because they're water, they can control the water. He melt this ice talisman. Now you're gonna be overheated. Ooh!
And there's so much lust happening around us right now because you're a stripper, and so you burst into flames.
Yes, all the ladies' desires onto you, and you are on fire.
Literally.
But I guess there was a bucket or something on there that fell on him, and it's some kind of goo thing.
Yes, because they were trying to catch the Nixies, they put the bucket up because they're like, oh, that'll
Yes.
attract them. And they put in a special spell that would then trap them when they touched it and like kind of like negate their magic. But instead, the Nixies kind of like sabotaged things. So that fell on Simon instead, who was literally on fire at that moment.
Yes. And so now he's covered in golden goo.
Yep.
He's kind of incapacitated now. He can't do anything, but he's okay. He's okay. He's just like
he gives a thumbs up, like he's like lying flat on their face, and they're like Simon, and he just like lifts his head and gives a thumbs up, and then everything's fine.
Yes, and most of the women they like left in the cast. Like, this is crazy. Let's get out of here. And Lissa's among them. She leaves. The sisters say a spell to free Simon, and then Lissa returns. She's like, "Guess what? I just got news that my wedding food is ruined.
Oh, no! Everything is cursed.
I'm cursed. My wedding is cursed." Phoebe comes up upon. So cut to Phoebe now. That's over. She goes to Jen.
We'll just leave Lissa dealing with that and move on.
Yeah, she'll figure it out. Yeah. So Phoebe comes up to Jenna's cottage, the author lady. She's like, I'm going to go get these things that she got for me. I'm going to take a look at her research. But she notices that it's all in disarray. It's wet. It's, just like that lawyer's place. Inside, she finds Jenna's assistant, so this old lady neighbor person, and she told Phoebe that she saw Jenna run out of the cabin and speed away in her car just as she arrived. She didn't talk to me, but she's good. She ran away.
She's gone. She is out of here.
Yes. Phoebe sees James in the distance, smoking a pipe. Phoebe senses something off immediately.
No one smokes pipes nowadays. He has to be possessed. He is the keeper. This is kind of what's boiling in their head. Like, what is it? What's going on? Mm-hmm. So chapter 6, Phoebe follows James throughout the night. She's tailing him. She sees him performing various rituals along the way, along the seashore. And she knows that he has a magical connection, because otherwise, why would he be performing various rituals? Mm-hmm. So then she witnesses James chant something that summoned a sea demon creature.
It's like always morphing into different shapes and different...
Yeah, it's like,
crazy.
Right now I have some octopus tentacles, but the head of a stingray. Like, it's very amorphous and it's constantly shifting.
Yes, I was like, the sea and all its spoils bow to my power!
Yes. And so, James promises to get the demon, the light of the world, and he kind of... This is where we learn a little bit more about what this diamond does and why it's so desirable. It can amplify any spell by 1,000.
Ooh.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
And so Phoebe deduces that James is actually the keeper and learns that he knows that they are the charmed ones. So the sea demon grants James dark power, as Phoebe's like, oh my God, I got to get back and let the girls know. We have to discuss what's going on with James. But during her getaway, she heard laughter, and she was grabbed by her hair and flung into a tree, and James stands over her menacingly.
Ooh.
That kind of rhymed.
Oh yeah, it did. So yeah, intensify.
She is kidnapped.
Yeah. So chapter 7. So we had like a little reprieve of shorter chapters in the middle here. Mm-hmm. But then it went back to long.
Then it gets big again.
Yeah. Chapter 7. Piper and Paige take Simon as they leave the bar. Simon, this is interesting. He's like, I smell the air, and I can tell.
I can sniff it out, baby.
It's like, you're being followed. Didn't you know? I can smell people following you. Like, what? He's like, it smells like at least 3 demons.
This is how scenting things works.
Bloodhound over here. So they all like duck into an office building. They're like, let's hide in here and see if they follow us. And they're confronted by 4 demons. So there's at least 3, but 4 demons.
4 demons total, with gills in their necks.
They got gills, yes. Ooh. So we're related to the water people somehow. They say they are from the Razvan clan.
Yes.
Uh,
The best
ooh,
clan, Razvan.
yes. Ooh. And they want them to get. They want. Oh yeah. It's like, get us the light of the world. It's like, why don't you take it yourself? He's like, no, the light of the world has to be given freely. So
Yes.
you must get it from Lissa, and then you must give it to us like a.
It's like a little train.
Yeah. I was like, a little convoluted for like a quick like takeaway, but sure. So
Yeah.
get us the light of the world.
And everybody seems to know about the light of the world now. Like, apparently it's been hiding and laying low for forever, but now suddenly everyone knows it's here and everyone wants it.
Maybe because it was like hidden away in the family, and then they finally like revealed it, and now they're like, oh, it does exist. They do
They
exist.
do exist.
Yes. Perfect. And then the Razvan attack. They have like a whole tussle begins. They're like, we're not giving you that light of the world. Like, oh, well then you will die.
Fighty, slap.
Fighty. Yeah, they like they beat Simon up to the like all four of them like go ahead and kick him like while he's down. Like, oh my god,
They are beating him up pretty viciously. like everyone on top of him, like kicking and punching.
It's like, we need to get the Studley man because he'll take us all out if we let him. Like,
Yes. The first step is to eliminate the Studley man, and then we'll go after the girlies.
exactly. Paige tries to orb out, but they set up a barrier that prevents any magical way in or out.
Oh no.
It's like, oh no. So like, ha ha ha, we got you, you're trapped. Piper's like, does that mean that you can't like teleport in and out too? Like, yeah, maybe, I don't know.
This part is really funny. The way the conversation went, it was just like, yeah. I never thought about that. But I guess you're right.
Yeah, we're trapped in here too. Oh. She's like, oh, good. So she like blows up some cleaning supplies, which causes an even bigger explosion that incinerates the demons, and they like duck and cover.
They ducked and covered well enough that this explosion that incinerated demons did not affect them hiding behind like an office chair.
Right, like, I'm under this desk. God,
I'm safe now.
So Paige and Piper and Simon, they're like, we did it. Let's leave. We're so cool. We're awesome.
We took care of those demons real good.
Yep.
So, chapter 8. Okay, this was very funny for me to picture it, but it's like Phoebe levitates and kicks James repeatedly while he smiles. And it's like, I didn't know that she could levitate. Can she levitate in the show?
Oh, yeah. She gets the power to levitate in 3rd season.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well then, but it's a very funny image. Like, I imagine her kind of crouching tiger with her arms up and like, kick, while
she
floating.
does that a lot. She goes, hi! She always says her hi, so she's probably saying that. But I was imagining like, kind of like when Peter Parker was attacking Green Goblin in, No Way Home, and he's just like laughing. As that was the image I was getting,
Yeah, because he's just not breakable. He's like, haha, it's funny. It's funny that you think you're doing good here. Mm-hmm. So James bursts into Black Crows and calls upon the snakes and eels and other animals to torment Phoebe. I thought this was really weird. They weren't in the water at this point, but apparently electric eels can come on land with eels don't operate the same way that snakes do.
No.
This is not a thing. Like
they need water.
They need water. They have gills and that. So I was like, and they kept mentioning the eels, and I'm like, these eels cannot be on dry land. They would like just flop next to her and be stuck. They couldn't do anything.
I shot you from a distance. Very strange.
Very strange, but James reforms his human shape and he provokes Phoebe to cast a spell on him. Phoebe recites her spell, but before she could throw juniper at him, the vines held her hands and James knocked her unconscious. That was a really weird part because he was like, yeah, vanquish me, do it.
Yeah. Do your spell. Yeah.
And she's like, are you sure? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
I was like, okay, are you ready? Are you ready for it?
And apparently he was ready for it. So he got the upper hand. And the next time Phoebe wakes up, it's in chains in a dark cave. And James tells her he wants to drain her magic for himself. So in her cell, 3 Nixies appear before her. They are beautiful, ethereal, and otherworldly. And so, of course, these beautiful ethereal creatures are named Chet, Harry, and Steve. And
It's like, oh.
none of those are good names for Nixies, but especially
No.
Chet. But
Chet.
Chet.
It's like- Put on some pants, Chet. We're the bro Nixie bros. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they tell Phoebe that they are prisoners too, and they were trying to stop the wedding. The Nixies reveal that the Keeper has been planning this for years. He discovered Lys's family had the light of the world and knew that if he married her, that whatever she owned would be his too. This kind of ties into the fact that you can't just take it. It has to be freely given. And so the lighthouse was his own little spirit doing his things, but he then targeted James, knowing that was like with Lyssa. And so he started kind of affecting the dreams, giving him certain ideas about, hey, you should really go to this lighthouse. And what if your wedding was on the anniversary of Trudy's death? Let's this whole story of replacing horror with light and love, just like that story is a story about love.
It's so crazy. Like, I'm so insidious and schemy, but it's about love. All I want is love, man.
Let's just love you guys. So outside, the Keeper called out to his lost love, Trudy, to no avail. He's like trying to reach her. He's like, I'm a ghost. Where is she at? She should be here too. Trudy, where are you? But she never answers, and he just wants to see her again. When suddenly a sea nymph comes up to the Keeper. He'd summoned her in some way. And she's like, oh, you know what I need, don't you? And he kisses her. He gives her the kiss that they need. And apparently, the power of love and a kiss gives the sea nymph the ability to transform into Phoebe. Very magical kisses.
Yes.
So Piper. So meanwhile, that kind of clips off there. So you're like,
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, what is he going to do when Phoebe disappears? But now he has his Phoebe stand-in, because it won't be a charm story if we don't have someone pretending to be one of the charmed ones.
Evil doppelganger of sorts. Yes.
Yes. So then we hop over to Piper and Paige. They're at the mansion. They're a little bit antsy. They're like, where is Phoebe? Where is she? So they get Leo to track down Jenna on the internet.
Yeah, it's like they call for, it's weird. They call for Leo, and then he comes like, go back to the manor, go on the internet, track her down, and then he like orders them back and gives them all her address and information and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well,
Strange.
and it's so funny. It's so of the time that, like, obviously their phones don't have the internet on it. And I feel like this was the point where people had the internet in their home, but it was like one computer connected to it that the whole family used and shared. And it was like,
it was like a grand event to like go on the internet. Like, this is internet time.
Yep. So then they scry to look for Phoebe because, and follow the breadcrumbs to Phoebe. What it is they go down because they're like, we don't know where Phoebe is either. Scry, they're like, oh, she's at the beach. And so they get there and Phoebe is just soaking wet in front of the beach. And she's like, yeah, I totally went for a swim. Of course, we all know this is fake Phoebe. This is a sea nymph. So that's why she's all wet. And she tells them, just, you know what? You can go home. I'm going to stay out longer. I really feel like I'm onto something with these Nixies.
I love swimming in the dark of night.
I do. But never skinny dipping. I must be fully clothed. And then we have a flash over to Painter Roy, the guy that earlier on was painting undersea, and he was out on his boat at sea, and suddenly a storm kicks up and it knocks him over, and a giant tentacle monster descends upon him.
I don't know why that was in there. It had no point, really.
This doesn't really resolve itself, does it?
No, it's just like, okay, Enter Roy dies from the monster. Cool.
We had to have someone insignificant die, so Roy it is.
Yes. It's like maybe it's just to say, like, yes, the sea is becoming stronger. We're going to do this to the whole world if we get that light of the world.
Yes. This is what's coming if the charmed ones are not successful.
Yeah. So, chapter 9, it's the morning of the wedding. Oh!
Yeah.
Piper knocks on Phoebe's her bedroom, to silence. She's like, okay. Well, but then she turns around and Phoebe, quotation marks, and James, quotation marks, appear. And apparently the catering and the dress problems and all the shenanigans that were going down, they're fixed. I got this covered. It's going to be an amazing wedding.
He has great connections, especially in the dress world. Yeah, I will say, like, it was pushing it that they were arriving to try these dresses on the day before the wedding, like dresses they had never worn that would probably need alterations. And they're like, let's just do it the day before the wedding. So luckily, things have been saved. The day has been saved by James. He's so great. He's so great.
He's so great. He's
so dreamy.
They got the money. They got the connections. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Piper and Paige meet with Phoebe. Piper thinks that she smells kind of fishy.
I
should take a shower.
I hate this new perfume that you have, and you should really take a shower, honey. You should do that.
You've been out swimming into the ocean too long last night, I think. Phoebe makes excuses for why the Nixies won't be a problem. She's like, we gotta go get rid of the Nixies. She's like, oh, it's fine.
I took care of it. I'm good.
Yeah.
I got it.
No. Yeah, they won't come by. Like, okay. Lissa began to have thoughts of rescheduling and canceling the wedding. She's like, I don't know. I don't know if I should do it. Should I go through with this? But then Phoebe, the sea nymph Phoebe, grabbed her. She's like, no! This wedding needs to happen today! You are not changing it.
Very intense.
Like, okay.
She's like, everything's going wrong, but I guess we could do that, I guess.
Yes. So then it cuts to, like, the sea nymph Phoebe is all alone. And this is where they kind of imply that she has, like, a crush on the lighthouse keeper. Like, she's, like, actually in love with him. And she's like...
The sea nymph.
Yeah,
Phoebe.
the sea nymph. Yeah. The sea nymph Phoebe. She's like, he won't love me, but I have to do what he says for my people. Like there's almost like this whole backstory that we don't really get. But she's like...
Mentioned nowhere else. And just suddenly she's here like... and he was like, he just now has a body. Has she known this ghost for a long time? I don't know. Or just like that one kiss on the beach was so good. So good. Now she must be with him.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm doing this for my people. Let's do it for our country. Okay.
The red, white, blue.
So there's that. And then, but she gets a package and the delivery comes, she signs for the delivery. And she's like, you know what? I got some time. Why don't I open this package?
Yeah.
And in the box, it was sent from Jenna, the author lady, who just, she got out of there, but she's like, I still want to give this stuff to Phoebe so she knows.
Yes. And how it got there so quickly. Because it was like mail.
It was mailed. Priority
overnight. Even though she ran away, she still really wanted to help.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure because she was attacked by the ghost. She's probably like, that ghost is probably going to be trouble for them. I better warn them.
I better do it.
Yeah. So the sea nymph goes through the stuff and she reads that it's like the pocket watch is the key. It is his anchor.
Oh no.
So that must be his weakness. Yes.
Yes.
So the sea nymph learns this. Then the wedding ceremony begins. Piper and Paige notice that droplets and an ice sculpture.
It started as a beautiful dancing woman because we all know that
a dancer.
Lissa is a dancer, but then it morphs and it changes.
It just shapes.
To
the word hussy.
Oh my goodness, hussy.
Hussy, and then it changes to arrows and it points to Phoebe.
This is a hussy.
A hussy.
Which is so funny. Like we find out that this is like the Nixies working with Phoebe to send a message, and I'm like, why would you use the word hussy and not like imposter? Right. But I just want you to know that this girl sleeps around. Hussy.
Like, I know if anybody who knows Phoebe knows this isn't news, but like such a hussy.
We were all aware of this. Thank you.
Yeah. Like, all right. It's like Piper's like, okay, what a weird ice thing. I'm just gonna blow that up so nobody sees.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but nobody sees the ice sculpture, but they're gonna notice the thing exploding into bits. Sure.
Yeah, and then also she's like, well, now she was expecting things to go after Lissa, but suddenly they're targeting Phoebe. What has gone on? What does this mean?
Yes. So back in the cave prison with the Nixies and Phoebe, they're like, like channeling all their energy together. They discover like a weakness in the spell or the cell that's holding them. Because what happened was like if the Nixies tried to escape, like a wall of fire came up and like turned them to steam and evaporated them.
Yes.
So they can't get out. But this way they're trying to like, I sensed a weak spot and maybe I can like sneak out. So they find that.
Yes.
But then this crab spider horse creature
comes to distract them.
Yeah, they're all, like I don't know how many. There's like several of them. These giant horse spider crab things, and they're like, I got pinchers. We're gonna come for you. And they're like, oh no, we can't focus our energy on there now. Oh,
how can we do that when there's a crab spider horse right there? So, chapter 10, the ceremony continues, and the Nixies are still trying to send energy that way to, like, make it stop. They shot corks out of the champagne. The punch levitated out of its bowl, and everyone was like, what's going on? And it just doused Phoebe, in quotes. And they're like, what? Why is this happening? During this chaos, the couples do say their I do's and kiss. But because any liquid that wasn't seawater touched the nymph, basically that melted away her disguise. She could only keep this disguise up as long as it was seawater, but anything else, liquid, turns her back into her sea nymph ways. And Piper and Paige now finally notice that the Piper before them, the Phoebe before them was not Phoebe at all. What chaos? I thought and they make a fun joke about her acting fishy.
Yeah.
So funny. And then the other guests see this sea nymph creature and they're freaking out. What the heck is going on?
I think it's funny though that of all the other shenanigans that were going on with the magic and stuff, they didn't seem to mind. No. It's only when the sea nymph appears. Like, what?
Yeah, everything's fine until a sea nymph is on your door. So the sea nymph asks the keeper who she loves for protection. She's like, oh, you have to help me and protect me. Yeah. And then he's like, I no longer have use for you. You have outlived your use to me. And so instantly betrayed, the nymph turns to Piper and Paige and say, you know what? That pocket watch is his weakness. It's his anchor. You got to get the pocket watch. So don't scorn a sea nymph if she knows information about you because she'll use it against you.
Exactly.
And in response, the keeper throws a fireball at the nymph, and she turns into dust.
So sad.
Aww. And then he forcibly grabs the light of the world off Lissa's neck. He full on tears it off her neck. She has a red mark on her. And then he transforms into his true self. The keeper holds the amulet up and says a spell that blinds everyone looking at it and fills them with fury. Dark like his heart. And everyone starts attacking each other. Like the caterer and the cook are like, oh, I hate your potato soup or whatever. And he's like, you always said you liked it. I make the best potato soup. You're the worst. And so Piper...
My favorite was the one where the two ladies are like, I never met you before, but I hate you. I hate your face.
Looking upon you was the worst. I wish I never had to do it. Yeah. So it's the discord has been brought upon everyone, and the keeper. And so then Piper, Paige, and Lissa close their eyes, so they aren't affected by this. They kind of get by because you had to see it and let that rage fill you, and then it starts to rain. And a watery outline of Phoebe appears to Piper and Paige, thanks to Nixie magic. And she tells them where she's being held. She's like, dude, I'm in a cave by the sea. Help me. And Paige orbs to her.
Yes. So chapter 11. Ooh, the final chapter. All right. So Paige arrives and is disgusted by the crab creatures. It's like, what the hell are these things?
I know. I'm offended by the presence of these creatures.
You should have warned me about these things. Mm-hmm. But the Nixies and Phoebe were kept alive so that the keeper could tap into their power because he's absorbing magic from them while they're in there. Paige orbs the ceiling on top of the crab creatures, and they're like stuck under there.
Squash.
Great. Squash. Phoebe and the Nixies escape with Paige. Yeah, they orb in before the Keeper. And then the Keeper summons like sea hounds, like a bunch of sea hounds, and then takes Lissa up to the lighthouse, like, hiya, come with me. Like,
yes, running away with her, taking her for his final plan.
yes. Paige and Phoebe go after him. They chase him. Well, Piper stays behind with the Nixies, and they kind of like fight off the sea hounds that are there, so they don't, attack the innocent people, I suppose.
I guess we need to keep people safe.
Yeah, so they fight off the monsters outside, but then the Nixies are like, okay, we got this, go after them. So Piper starts to join the sisters. Paige and Phoebe are being tortured in a chill. Oh yeah, so he like, because like someone's like some icy wind on them, and they're like, it's so cold.
No, I do hate the cold. Like
I do too. I'm a baby in the cold.
Yeah,
I need to move to California.
Yeah, Southern California, you don't really have to worry about that at all. You do have to worry about extreme heat, though. So
yes, just like they're all like, I'm so cold. But Piper comes to save the day.
Woo!
Piper like blasts the Keeper with several explosions. She's like, boom, 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 get away from me. Get away from my sisters. Hiya. And it's not like they all burst, and it knocks him back to like, he's like disoriented. So he's down. He's down for the count right now. Piper grabs his pocket watch and stomps on it. She's like, I got your pocket watch. Your weakness. Haha. But the Keeper was still too powerful. He's like, that pocket watch means nothing to me. I get the light of the world, bitch. I'm still powerful.
Yeah, you can't take just one thing from me when I have the light of the world. I win.
That's a mere trinket now. Oh yeah, so then he like attacks them, and they're like play dead or something. They pretend like they're knocked out, but they're not. So he's like, okay, they're out of my way. Now I'm going to try to connect with my love, Trudy. Oh.
And he thinks like he's the one that his power now is making him able to reach this, but really,
yeah,
he's getting help without knowing.
Exactly. He's like, wow, I'm so powerful, and those sisters are gone. But the sisters are like hiding, and they're like whispering, and they recite a spell that summons Trudy. Like, let's bring her. Maybe she'll talk some sense into him.
Yes.
So the ghost of Trudy appears, burgers, to the Keeper.
Yes.
And she's like, yeah, he doesn't have a name. I was going to say James, but no, she doesn't even say his name. The Keeper. My love, the Keeper. She tries to curb his desire for vengeance. She's like, don't do this. We loved each other. Don't you still have love on your heart? Do the right thing. Remember when you remember.
Remember, James, remember.
Yes. So the Keeper recalls that fateful night, and then he remembers the tragedy that happened because it was all his own mistakes. He was so distracted.
He wasn't set up by the lawyer guy.
Yeah, you were so distracted by your wife that you just made stupid mistakes and didn't do the things you're supposed to. And you killed her!
Oh no! How will she ever forgive him?
Yes, oh gosh. The Keeper's spirit leaves James's body and reunites with Trudy's spirit. I'm so sorry. Let's go off in the distance together forever and be happy.
Happy in death.
Happy in death. Leo appears and they tell him it's like yeah, I was like, so this was all that went down. The people, all the guests, they're fine. We just told them that their strange occurrences that happened was because they're all drunk. They're all drunk from the wedding, so they just believe that that's what happened. That they were seeing things.
You guys drank way too much, and maybe lay off that.
Yeah, sorry you had a weird, crazy hallucinations. I'm sure, but that's on you. Mm-hmm. The three surfer dudes appear again, and it's revealed that they were the Nixies all along.
There was like one interaction that actually had a point in happening early on. It actually had a callback on like our random like underwater painter who just gets attacked and dies.
It's like this is why my name's Chet, because it's a great surfer name. So that's
yeah.
Phoebe now has faith that she deserves true love, and it will happen one day for her. That's what she gets from the story.
I mean, definitely the moral of the story.
That's what I learned of all the things to learn, but sure.
Yep.
The end.
Yay!
Overall thoughts, final thoughts on the book.
The final thoughts is it was just so interesting to me how much like random side stories were added in and never paid off, but like the general story was fun and good. Yeah, gotta love a weird town where strange happenings are happening. Gotta love it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time with this story. It was like the perfect blend of like this true horror of this ghost story with like off the wall random ass comedy.
Yeah.
Which is actually something the show kind of excelled at a lot of times. They always mix like the heart with the really silly. So I appreciated that. Because even when I found certain plot points like pointless and unnecessary, I was still like in good spirits about it. Yeah.
True.
Plus anything like water related and nautical related, I really have like a kinship to. I really like that stuff. So
nice.
Yeah. So I liked it.
Could you see this being an episode like with all these cool like water things doing like morphy shapes and stuff? Like I feel like that would have been one that would be fun to watch.
Exactly.
Episode.
Yeah, I would have really liked this as an episode because I'm like, there would have been similar iconography to like some of the other episodes, like The Wedding from Hell or Witch's Tale when Phoebe turned into a mermaid. There'd be some of that stuff, but this story was told in a way that was brand new for the series, so it would have been a whole new like haunting and hilarious episode. It would have been really fun.
Yeah,
the wedding sequence with like the whole like all the things attacking the sea nymph and stuff. I thought Little Mermaid. I was thinking of the whole like all the animals coming to Vanessa.
Yes. Well, I actually had the thought because the way that the wedding kept going on was James like turned to the minister and his eyes glowed and it's like continue the wedding, and that just kind of reminded me of Vanessa in The Little Mermaid, where she's like just kind of comes in and glows her thing and makes people do what like hypnotizes them, gets them to do what she wants to do. And it's like, that's a very Vanessa move, James.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was having those Little Mermaid flashbacks. It was great. My one complaint about this book is I feel that the keeper should have repercussions for his actions.
No, he just got to go be with his true love forever.
He's killed and tortured and schemed for years and then just gets off scot-free because he's in love.
Above all things, love.
Where's the justice? I don't know. I had a little gripes about that, but
yeah. I feel like maybe someone of his behavior should be vanquished, should be, put to rest. You don't get to wander the world anymore. Goodbye, spirit.
All right. So the next thing I have is put that in my canonical hat.
Canonical.
So this one might be a little bit tougher for you because it's like, determining where the story, what's true and not true to the narrative of the story.
Yeah.
But we did mention some of them. The redhead thing.
Yep.
Back in season 5. The whole Leo being a white lighter puts it back in season 5.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that she's still married to Leo helps place it right.
Yeah.
I think, I just thought of a weird thing and then it flitted away from my brain. Oh, I found it really weird. Like, because Paige has... like she came about in season 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was still this one. They were really focusing at the beginning about how Paige kind of felt left out and like missed all the time she didn't have with them. And I understand that's like something that can have long term, but at this point they've been living together for probably 2 years and she's very much a part of their group. So it was weird. I felt like some of the struggles it was showing on Paige's side are things that would have happened in 4th season, not now. Yeah.
There's a few references. The incubus was cool because we did see a succubus in the show, so it's cool that we saw like an incubus or a half incubus of sorts.
Yes.
Just like Queen of the Underworld was mentioned. They had like spider people that were mentioned. It's like, remember those spider people we fought that like stuck people to walls?
Yeah.
I was like, there was a spider demon in Charmed, but there weren't these spider people. So I don't know.
So where did that come from?
Yeah.
Well, and they also mentioned where Paige had, or was it Phoebe? No, it was Paige. Like Paige had been involved with a knight, like when she was possessed by her previous life as an evil enchantress. Was that a book thing or I can't remember.
That's a show thing.
It's been so long for me. I was like, that's really specific. That had to have happened.
They did mention the page from the past stuff. They did mention the Greek goddesses and the superheroes, which were in season 5. So if I place this, because of those mentions, it'd probably be like right between season 5 and 6. Well, no, it wouldn't have. But no, see, it wouldn't have worked either because Leo would have been gone to Valhalla by then. So yeah, it's a tricky one. At the spell in the crowd with the rage kind of reminded me of the Woogieman victims when people went into the basement and then they went out back into the neighborhood and then were fighting with each other. Yeah. I was having flashbacks of that.
Yeah.
And then I just have the one thing that's not canonical to me is like Phoebe having faith in true love.
Phoebe absolutely does not have faith in true love. That is a defining feature of her. She had faith in it, and then Cole burned her too deeply.
Yes.
Never again.
She's been in constant like love hell till like right before like season 8 ended. Like she's been always having that problem. So the fact that if it's season 5 or season 6, she's like, I love you guys. that's not canonical.
That's not canon. No.
Yeah.
Take it back.
Yeah. And one thing that was different is they mentioned that Paige was in the foster system.
Yeah.
Which that's not true because she was left at the church with Sister Agnes as a baby. And so a nun found her an adoptive family. You know, she never had a foster.
She wasn't in a foster before going that way. So.
No. Her husband Henry was, but not her. And then, they said the Book of Shadows was black in this. The cover was black leather, not green leather.
That is a big... Well, how could they do that? That's a big thing. But at least they're calling it the Book of Shadows in this one, and not just Book of Shadows. Book of Shadows.
Oh, so you listened to the Sean episode. That was a fun one.
I listened to the Sean episode.
Very nice. Very nice. I guess we'll go right into rhyme time then.
Ooh, rhyme time.
Should we try a spell?
Why not? Let's try a spell.
In the wind, I sing this rhyme. Bring death before me, before my time.
You've really got to lay off the rhyming, Prue.
Wonderful. Witty, but wordy.
I did the rhyme. I will do the time. Good night.
So we read the spells. Did you want to start with the first one?
Sure.
Okay.
So our first spell is this is what we do to trap a Nixie in water form. You need a potion. And it goes, this was the brilliant rhyming of Paige. I think Paige did this one, and the next one is Phoebe's. So this one, very simple. Imprisoned be Mr. Water E. What a rhyme.
Beautiful. I mean, I hate it, but I kind of love it at the same time.
Nice and simple. Nice and simple.
Oh, Mr. Water E, you just need to be imprisoned. Yeah.
Yep.
The next one is to drive Nixies away from Phoebe. Those who just fell like rain, be gone down the drain.
Which is perfect. That was when they were in the shop with the dresses and the hair stuff. So luckily there were quite a few drains that they could just get shot down.
Mm-hmm. They just stuck down there.
Yeah. So then we have to undo a binding spell. For those who don't want to stick around, your freedom's at hand and shall be found. And this is where they were like channeling that spider experience, right?
Yeah. So, okay, cool.
So this next one is good.
This next one is good. This is the one that James or Lighthouse Keeper did to summon the sea demon creature. Yes. It's very poetic.
Very.
Did you want to do half and half?
Sure.
Dwellers of the deep, progenitors of evil on a million worlds, architects of pain and misery from beyond the stars, I call upon thee.
Send your emissary from his watery tomb, from his crypt of suffering and madness, so that he may consecrate my unholy plans, and make of this village an unhallowed grave so dark and terrible that all in 1,000 realities will tremble when they hear its name. Come, I beseech you, come now.
I mean, that's pure poetry.
It is. It doesn't need the rhyming to be a beautiful... awesome spell. Like this one, I was like, he's better at spells than they are.
Mm-hmm. Just powerful wordage. Yeah, it's beautiful. I can listen to that all day.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is a separation spell. I know you now, O thing of terror, so separate now from your wearer.
Woo!
Yes, I don't remember when
I'm
that was
trying-
from. Used.
I remember reading it, but I can't remember what it was that it was affecting.
Yeah, I don't either.
King of Terror says, separate now from your wearer. I don't remember. I don't definitely remember the rhymes of it,
Yes.
but I'm not sure which one that was.
Yeah.
But
It was in here.
it was in there.
There you
It was
go.
simple. It separated some
Yeah.
things.
And it's short and sweet. I think it works just fine.
Yes. And then we have our Discord spell that is released upon all the wedding guests. And that goes, let those who gaze upon this light know misery and anger and fight, fight, fight.
It's such a cheerleader spell.
Right?
Whatever. Water.
Stevens,
Yeah, Stevens, yeah. I'll punish you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one. This is the power of 3 spell that summoned Trudy's spirit. Powers that be, we sisters 3 call on thee. Light the way for one lost that day. Bring her here and now with truth to say.
Woo.
Yeah. Not terrible. A little clunky, but not terrible.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
they could write it down there. They have to like, all right,
Yeah.
let's get together. Let's plan out these words we're going to say because we have to say them all together in unison at the same time
Exactly.
while pretending to be dead. Let's do
Yes.
this.
Whisper. Yeah.
What'd you say? Nothing.
The next thing I have is best baddie ranking.
You get locked, frozen in fear.
Best baddie.
So I'm just going to tell you, this is where I kind of rank the baddies from the last set of books that we're working with.
Okay.
We have 9 baddies right now.
Whoa.
So I'm going to place the Lighthouse Keeper as number 4, right
Ooh.
between Bestiary Demon, which was
the circus one.
the circus one, and Gil Townsend, which was this like human guy that was murdering people and eating their organs and feeding.
Oh, just a serial killer. That's all.
Yeah.
Not everyone can be supernatural. Sometimes you just need a good old serial killer.
Exactly. So he's right between those two, I think. So pretty high up on the list. I liked him. I thought he was really, schemy and really smart and really creepy and yeah.
And so dreamy.
So dreamy.
He took over that James. It was just so hot.
All right. So now we have our 10 things segment.
So what is our level of confidence in this plan?
10, 10, 10.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being we whoop ass, 1 being he laughs at us while we're on fire and naked, maybe you should like me.
Here's 10 things. Where we talk about our favorite sea characters or water characters. in media.
Yes.
What's your number 5?
So my number 5 will be kelpies. Do you know what kelpies are? They're water horses.
Oh, water horses.
They're in a majority of things. They're in an episode of the new DuckTales that I love because
You do love DuckTales.
I truly love DuckTales. But what was great is like kelpies are known for taking they'll grab their rider and drown them. And so they're in this mystical fairyland and these cute, super happy, very in the style of My Little Pony. Ponies come over and they're like, "Hi, what are you doing here? Why don't you come in the water with us?" They were my favorite thing, I think, in that show because and then they kept appearing throughout the whole show and they'd be saying, "Okay, we have to do this thing to get over there." And they'd pop in there and be like, "Are you going to come in the water? Come in the water with us." It's just really weird.
So it's kind of like the Kelpie mixed with like a siren where they lure the
Come with us so we can drown you.
And that's why now I get why the horse is doing that in Frozen 2. I get a reference now. Thank you.
You now understand more things. Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
They're big in folklore in Scotland. That's kind of where that comes from.
Cool. Mine is Luca Paguro. from Luca.
Yeah.
I just thought he was like a super cute little sea boy friend. Like,
I mean, that was a wonderful movie. I think that's a good choice. For my next one, and this is so random. So her name is Princess Celia. She is a member of the Morays and there was a comic book of Little Mermaid where she like got kidnapped by these Moray people that are half eel, half person. And Celia wanted to keep her as a pet, Ariel as a pet. And she was just like, I would always just look at her pictures and be like, she's so gorgeous because she has this like hair that's like dark black green and her skin is all green and she has golden shells as her bra. And she has like shocks of color in her hair that are very Bride of Frankenstein. But she was really presented as like, she shares some of like the impulsivity and kind of wanting to break out and do her own thing that Little Mermaid, Ariel, does, but she is all dark, whereas, the Little Mermaid actually has a moral compass. Mm-hmm. So I just had fascinations when I was younger, and that they were neat. And then recently I saw it pop up in a tweet where it's like, hey, so how about this like very, it's not butch, Futch, like feminine butch character who was an anarchist because she went on this whole rant of like rules are not meant to be, they're meant to be broken. And so she's a fun character.
Cool. Well, sticking with the theme over here, I am choosing Benjamin from Little Mermaid 3, Ariel's Beginning. The little manatee that was like, I love Benjamin. He's kind of like a Winnie the Pooh kind of manatee character and like doing like Marina Del Rey's nails and getting her wigs ready and feeding her like electric eel beast things. And
so good.
He's so cute. I love him.
All right. So I'll say my number 3 is Ariel. I love Ariel. Ariel's great.
Yes.
She is a very passionate 16-year-old. But yeah, she's just, I love her. I love her colors and I love like Disney bounding as her. She's great. She's
beautiful. Ariel, right. You can't go wrong. Mine is kind of, I guess I'm going to water adjacent. She's not like a sea creature, but she is a water bender from Avatar. Katara.
Okay. She's a water creature, because she deals with water.
Yeah.
Even though she doesn't live in it.
She doesn't live in it. But there is that point where she made like the water tentacles, which was cool.
Yeah.
Just Katara's just really badass. And then with the blood bending on top of that, like, ooh. Crazy. I love it.
Cool. My next one that I have here is Baby Dory because she's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Like her big eyes and her tiny voice. Like, oh my God, Baby Dory is the cutest thing.
Adorable. I really was going to put her on here too. I'm like, should I put her? But I bet you she's going to put her. But yeah, I love Baby Dory so much. Yeah.
Yes.
My number 2 is Vaporeon.
Getting some Pokemon in the mix.
Vaporeon is actually my favorite Pokemon of all the Pokemon.
Oh, and Vaporeon is the evolved one, like the one,
Eevee.
Yeah, where Eevee, they start out Eevee and then it branches out into multiple evolutions, and that's the water one.
Right? Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Very cool. Well, this last one is kind of silly, but I'm weird, and so I've chosen the sunfish. And I don't know if you've had the pleasure of seeing a sunfish before, but they are the ugliest fish in the world, and I love them. But what I especially loved is there was someone that went on a Twitter rant about how the sunfish is the most useless creature of all time. And it's like it goes on, and they're like, this is useless fish. It doesn't have that diving bladder, so it can't like dive down in water, and like it'll just like come up to the top of the surface and just float there, hoping that seagulls will come and pick parasites off of it because it's not fast enough to keep these parasites off of it. And this person just rants about how horrible the sunfish is, and then someone else came on and was like, to counter all that, let you know how amazing the sunfish is.
Wow.
And personally, I have an affinity with them. I saw one while I was out at Catalina on a boat with friends, and it was just lolling at the top, and I'm like, oh, it's so ugly. I love it. I love it so much. So I went a little bit weird with that one, but I love the sunfish.
No, that's I love that. That's so good. That's so cool.
I'll have to send you the rants because it's hilarious.
Yes, I will read them. That sounds amazing. My number one is Ariel. But Little Mermaid was actually the first Disney movie I ever saw.
Wow.
So I do have a little bit of an affinity for that too, I think.
Yes. I had the weirdest thing with The Little Mermaid where I was watching some Disney VHS and it showed kind of like a preview for The Little Mermaid. And as part of that preview, she's like, mermaid, mermaid. And then it showed her at the end coming out in that sparkle dress with legs. And I remember going to my mom and being like, hey, they're making Splash into a Disney film. Like my little baby self was like, this is clearly Splash where she can just come in and out of the water at will. Mm-hmm. That's like my weird memory that
that's great.
Like my first interaction with Little Mermaid.
But now hearing your number one makes me wish I chose Cuttlefish because I love Cuttlefish too.
Cuttlefish are so cute.
They're so cool.
Yeah.
And then like the fact that they can like change the pigments and then like the males like pretend to be females so they get close to the female and they can store like multiple people's like males' eggs or whatever or seed or whatever and like choose which one they think is the coolest or the most worthy.
Do I like this one? Do I like this one?
They're so fascinating little things.
Yeah. I love the color changing. Watching that color changing that's on them, on octopus, I think maybe even some squid have it, but like the way it just flickers and changes and matches. It's so cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to put them as an honorable mention because I love them so much and they're so fascinating. Thanks for the inspiration.
You're welcome.
All right. So that's done. That was fun. Cool. Yeah. The final thing is tips for future white letters.
I was out being a force of good in the universe.
And this is the moral that we learned from the story. What do you think that is?
That really important moral. I mean, I feel like there's a couple of morals. I feel like if a town has really eccentric people in it, it is also going to be ravaged with demons and ghosts and stuff. It's an important lesson.
Makes sense to me.
But love, in the end, is all that matters. And I believe in true love, just like Phoebe.
I believe in love.
I believe in a thing called love, just as a with a heart.
Yeah, we have our musical Love too, which I always appreciate that we both get the musicals.
Yeah.
My moral is because I feel like this book misleads you. Don't be misled. Love is no excuse to be shitty, nor is it a get out of jail free card. So
yes, punish people if they did bad things. Don't let them off just because love.
Yeah. So yeah, there it is. We did it! Whoa! So I guess where can people find you and follow you and see all your amazingness?
So you can find me on A Real Bodice Ripper. We are a podcast that has to do with books. So kind of like I know you've experienced this because you have to read books before you can do the next one. It ends up coming out not like on clockwork.
Yeah.
Because we both have to read it and then just bring it together.
It takes time.
It takes so much time. Especially if you end up throwing in something like an ACOTAR book that's like massively thick, like sitting down to read the Bible or something. But it's really fun. It's very sex positive, but also we like to make fun of, some of the problematic things. It's really good. And then, of course, Once Upon a Cult, where we talk about people that form cults, or are they a cult? Are they a religion? We do that. And if you just want to check me out, I'm at Rachel Babette on Instagram, spelled RACHAEL BABETTE, like the feather duster from Beauty and the Beast. But I came first. At Gmail. And you can follow me there. I have a van. I drive around and do adventures in my van. And sometimes I post them if I'm not being lazy. So.
Beauteous. I love it. Okay. You can find this podcast at Words of the Witches everywhere, except for Twitter, which is Words of Witches. And you can follow my other shows with Sean on Mutual Friend and Hanging with the Halliwells and Solving for X.
Yes.
That's always great. And then, I guess after this episode, we're back on our normal schedule, our bi-weekly schedule. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining me. This was
welcome.
Amazing. I had the best time.
It was really great. Thank you so much for asking me.
Yeah, I'm so glad. And cool. So, spell worders, we'll see you then. Your destiny still awaits. Blah.